Dopředu ohlásil, že se má někdo přijít. Zuzana Černohocová řekla, že to má
umím, ale to už to ne. Na podstatě jako rád. Já budu být překvapit. Tak já lepší než... tak to nedává. Ale tak to nebude chtít. že předtím dávám turku, to si vždycky a to se nemá.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me welcome you on discussion of book fairs. I'm really surprised that there is so many audience here, because I was more expecting it will be more like a close meeting of a friends, because Niki, 3 years ago it was here like your big boss, Jürgen boss, and we had like 1/2 of the audience. So let it, yeah, don't tell him that you had the bigger audience than him. Let me introduce my guests. Elena Pasoli is the director of the Bologně Bologna Book Fair, which is focused on children literature. Julija Kozlovec is the director of Book Arzenál, the Kiev Literary Festival and Book Fair, which unfortunately didn't happen this year, but we all wish that it will run next year, and we are all planning to go there. And Niki Théron, who's the representative of the oldest and biggest book fair in the world, Frankfurtu Buchmesse. Yeah. Applause, please. It's a great honor this year that I'm hosting all these colleagues, and I prepared just 3 simple questions which I will ask now, and I will be very happy if you speak openly about everything what come up on your mind with these topics, and I think that we don't have to speak about numbers. I will be more happy than when we speak about the philosophy of book fairs and so on. So let me start with the first question, which is about these tough times, because we had COVID, which usually for most of the book fairs it meant that for 2 years they were stopped. And now we have war, which is also problem for mainly European book fairs. And so please tell me how you survived this period and how you are now surviving still this period. Maybe we can start this direction.
Well, thank you very much, Radovan, for this invitation. Thank you for this wide audience that's following us. I'm very sorry not to speak your language, and anyway, I will speak slowly, so I hope it won't be difficult. So, well, from the very beginning of the first lockdown, I like to consider what we were facing as a great challenge instead of a disaster, because actually for fair people it could have been a disaster, but in the meantime, maybe because I'm quite old and well experienced, let me say that I thought, my God, I couldn't expect any better in terms of works. Of course, not in terms of life, because that was a disaster. But I mean, in terms of works, I said, how nice to have this challenge, to have to reinvent what we're doing. Because we don't know, at this stage, we cannot say we just have to hold on and wait that this thing passed. Because it was clear that it wouldn't be short. So it was clear from the very beginning that something could have changed. So let's start, we actually were so lucky, let me say, so terribly unlucky to be the first international book fair to have to deal with the problem, because the Bologna Book Fair is in March, and everything broke out in February, beginning of March. So we immediately thought that we couldn't even cancel or postpone. We have to immediately create and plan something different. And so we got started with the digital thing. Now it's easy and even boring, let me say, to say, oh, we are fed up of the digital stuff, oh, stop doing that. No. I think that we have to be well aware of the importance of what we learned, and we have to be so smart to understand how we have to merge, to put together our traditional way of meeting and doing fairs and the great opportunities that come out from the digital thing. I mean, inclusion, dissemination, all this is important. And even if we are, I think that we are close to be out of the nightmare, I think that we have to use what we learned, and we have to go ahead. I think that actually first, it's clear also looking now across the halls that are still very welcomed by people. People need to meet. People need to meet with the authors in person when it comes to B2C fairs. They need to meet in person with their counterparts to exchange copyrights when it comes to B2B fairs, as Bologna and mainly Frankfurt are. But there's the good news that thanks to what we learned from digital, we can include more people in our activities. For example, for the Bologna Book Fair, that is only professional, so no general public, no children are allowed in. It's time to go out and offering our authors, our discussions also to this general public, because thanks God, there's a lot of people that are not working in the publishing industry, but are interested in books and also in what is behind the scenes. I mean, they're not interested only in novels and talking with authors, but they're also interested in understanding what's behind, how we reach the final result of having books, how books are promoted, to learn more about our world. So I think that I am always optimistic as my natural behavior, but in this time, more than ever, I think that we have to be optimistic. Then, you, Radovan, put together the pandemic and the war. That it's different, because pandemic is something that have involved all the world. We were all on the same boat. And that was interesting too, I think, to make us think about. When it comes to war, we have people that are attacked, we have people that are attacking, and we have countries that have to decide what side they have to stick and to stand. So that's a bit different, and this is the real challenge, to understand how we can help.
Thank you. Yes, I'm representing the Book Arsenal Festival, and this is the festival which is held annually in Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. And this year we might have the 11th festival, which was going to be held in May, in the end of May. And finally, since the end of February, we understand that it will be impossible again to have the festival, and it was the second cancelling of the book Arsenal during last 12 years. The first cancel was because of the pandemic, because of COVID. I can agree here with Elena that this COVID experience gave us much, a lot of things. We have studied a lot. We have reinvented a lot of mechanism instruments, and to be honest with you now, I can say that this experience helps us now. We have managed to arrange the working processes online, and it helped when part of the team was evacuated promptly after the 24th of February. We have experience of having the internet connections with all our partners, friends all over the world, and it helped us a lot to feel that we are not alone at the end of February. It was something which gave us the possibility to fight against the enemy on our cultural front. And I can thank here to all the festivals who were with us in this struggle. And first was really Bologna. 2 days before the invention started, I came back to home to Kiev from Bologna, being the member of the jury of Bologna Ragazzi Awards. Speaking to Elena, to all the colleagues, having a lot of friends, new friends from the world of children's literature, having a great experience of jurying the books, so lovely books, and all these discussions. And in 2 days after I came from Bologna, the invention started. So one of the first calls which I had these days was from Elena. And the topic of the call was what we can do for you. Because we have the Bologna Book Fair like in few weeks. And we understand, said Elena, that we can do something, and we can do something very, very strong. We can help in some kind of a very strong action. So please use us, she said. And almost the same was the reaction from our partners, from Frankfurt Book Mess, from Radovan, who called me saying that he with his friends will be on the border of Ukraine helping people if they need his help. And these are private stories of private people whom we make friends because of the books and because of the fairs which we are doing. We are doing great jobs doing the fairs. I'm absolutely proud of the work which we are doing. Book Arsenal is the best literary festival in the world. We have even an award about this from London Book Fair. So I can truly tell you that this is the best place ever. We are doing the festival in the former military plant in the center of Kiev, and it's a symbolic issue. And when we had the COVID, we think that it's the worst which we can have, because the premises of our brilliant old building of Old Arsenal are empty because of COVID. But now the premises of Book Arsenal are empty because of bomb attacks risk, because of the air attacks sirenas, and because a lot of people are evacuated, and part of them to Czech. A lot of Ukrainian refugees are now in Europe, and the book fairs are the places where they can find the small piece of their homes, and we can help them using all our experience which we have gained during doing the fairs in the peaceful time, doing the fairs in some, online hybrid something. I don't want these difficult words saying, because online and book fairs, it's totally nonsense, but okay, we were pressed to do this. So taking all this experience, we can do what we can now to support the right side of the war, as Elena said, to support Ukraine, to support Ukrainian people, to support those who struggle for their freedom and for freedom of the whole Europe now, in the center of Europe, and to support our people, usual people who are now in the middle of their the most stressful experience of their lives. So I think that book fairs are doing what they can, and the issue why we are successful in this is because the book fairs are doing by great people. And these book people, are really fantastic one. So I think that the answer for your question is that how you are doing, we are doing. We are working, doing what we can in these circumstances. And for now, the great focus for Book Arsenal team is to be present in different book fairs and to have a voice for speaking from Ukrainians and give the voice to Ukrainian authors, artists, having some events in the program, speaking loudly about who we are, where we are, and how we can be presented to the world.
Yeah. Thank you, Radovan, for the invitation, and I feel very honored and inspired to sit on this red sofa with this wonderful lady. My name is Niki Théron. I work in the international department of the Frankfurt Book Fair. 2020, I went home on Friday, 13 March 2020. 2020. With my laptop in my bag, and I left my home office with my laptop in my bag in September 2021. So first of all, the big shock, I think, for all of us was to kind of leave these team and our office, the House of Books in Frankfurt, where our offices are, was a place full of life and energy. And from one day to the other, it was empty. And everyone was working from home. I think now it's 2 years. I don't know. Who has been to Frankfurt here? Who knows the Frankfurt Book Fair? Okay. So the Frankfurt Book Fair is 500 years old. It's a very, very old lady. But it is a very lively lady, living from encounters. So we were fighting, our director and the team were fighting for surviving and hoping that we can take place. And in June, we thought, oh yeah, we will take place. And then of course, something we have to stress is we are lucky in Germany to get a strong support, political support from our government, state support. Without this public support, it wouldn't be possible to survive in these circumstances. And then it was May, June. I remember I cried when I heard we will take place in October. But then the pandemic got out of control, and on 8th of September, we had to cancel and to say, we are sorry, it won't be possible. It will be a digital Frankfurt Book Fair. And as Julia said, what's that? I mean, what is that? What is a digital book fair? But we managed, and I think we learned so many things, as you said, Elena. We have all done things, all of us here have done things for the first time in 2020, 2021, things we never thought we would be able to do, and also create a kind of platform in the virtual world to keep the spirit alive. And I think, just to sum it up, 2 years after the beginning of this pandemic, and I don't know, 2 months after, or 3 months now, after the beginning of this war, what is very strong is the feeling of community, the feeling of belonging to a community. And this community is surviving the most difficult challenges of our times. And it's because it's a people industry, people who share memories, values, dreams. And yeah, we are meeting again in Frankfurt in October with a very, very small digital program, something like 2 formats, and all the rest will be in person. And what we hear is that people are so much looking forward to come and meeting each other again. So community, for me, is that what's will remain out of this pandemic time.
Yeah, this is what I also feel, or what showed me much more what is meaning of our work, because before pandemic I was thinking that it's our main mission is selling the books, selling the rights, and help publishers and agents to make contacts and help publishers to sell books. But you can do all of this digitally, but we all must agree that digital book fairs are nothing, because the real meaning of book fairs is the personal meetings, that people from books will meet personally. We have this motto this year by Umberto Eco: we live for books, and this is pleasure for us even in this bad word. I don't remember it exactly, but I think this is our mission to make people from book industry and people who loves book to meet personally. And maybe in this moment my second question is bad, but let me ask, how do you see the future of our book fairs?
So, well, as you say, people need to meet in person. I think that what's missing completely in the digital fairs is the serendipity, so the possibility of looking for something and changing ways and roads and paths and go to something else. That's, in a way, it's same as buying books online or going to a bookshop. I don't blame buying books online. I do buy books online, but I buy a book online when I know exactly what I want. But sometimes it's interesting not to know what you want and go to a bookshop to buy a non-fiction book and then find a cover that attracts you and completely change your mind. But in the meantime, what I was saying also before is what as a fair organizer, what's our power? What's our assets? Is it square meters or is it contacts? It's contacts, I think. So if it is contacts, why don't I have to share contacts also with the people that can't be in Bologna? I think it will take time to recover completely from the COVID. And I think that there will be still people that cannot come. So now that I know how I can do it online, I think that I have to keep providing this. So it's hard because no no fairs have increased their staff. They have decreased their staffs. And we actually, what we would need is to have more staff. Because if you have to go ahead doing stuff in person and things in person and things online, I don't think you have to double, but more or less. And no fair organizer were in a position of increasing their staff. But in the meantime, now that we know how we can involve people that cannot come to the fair, that would be very painful not to keep doing that. So it's a fight. Also in our company, it's a fight because, of course, this year we had the first in-person fair after 2 online editions. It went great. We had a lot of exhibitors, people. 25% decrease comparing to 2019. That is great. So more than 1,000 exhibitors from 90 countries. So the company said, okay, stop doing the digital stuff. I cannot do it because it's not rhetorical, but I think that when you have been working for ages for books and this kind of industry, it is not exactly as dealing with shoes or cosmetics. You kind of feel that you are doing something more. So you cannot leave behind all those people that cannot come. So actually now the challenge is how can we do both with the same budgets? Probably not as big as we did when we had to do it only digital. Anyway, we have to keep doing something digital. And that's the trick, that's the real challenge in terms of economics, because actually that's the topic, because everybody agrees on the fact that it would be great to do online, in person, everything, but when it comes to money, you have to survive. And actually, for example, Bologna didn't have any support from the government. And for this, I have to say that our company, that differently from Frankfurt Book Fair, for example, the Bologna Fiere is a fair organizer, same as Read, for example. So we're not the association, we don't have the association of publishers and booksellers behind. We are a fair organizer, and we do fairs in many different industries, and that was very smart from our company, I think, and I'm grateful to the big bosses that understood that the book fair had to be supported, even if we had no money from the government. And so they didn't fire anybody. We're a small team, actually, but we're still all together, and we've been supported to do the online initiatives along the past 2 years, and now we have not increased the staff, so we have to think of how to deal with both the activities, reducing a bit the online activities, but keeping them alive for all those that cannot come, because that was nice too. In these 2 past years, we have increased a lot the number of our contacts. I have increased, for example, participating in the Guadalajara Book Fair with some initiatives last November. I have sharply increased my contacts in Latin America. That there's no money there. at all. So all those people are people that you have to invite, or you have to let them enjoy something online. And now I feel very strongly committed to fulfill their expectations. And so that's the trick for me, that's the challenge.
It's difficult to speak about the future from my position, but if we will speak about book fairs in general, I at least was until last 3 months very optimistic, and the reason for this optimism was that the book industry and book fair organizers were those people who managed to do something even in COVID time, because a lot of industries were just like stopped to wait. I mean, they're aware of professional fairs for, like, as you say, like cosmetics or something, which just said, okay, we're cancelled after pandemic, we will come back, just wait. All the people went to online, and that's it. Book people and organizers of book fairs couldn't even imagine that they will just sit doing nothing. Even if you have the fair in a month after or few weeks after the pandemic started, book fair organizers were, working hard, a few times harder than before, to do what they are obliged to do, to fulfill their mission, to find the new ways to fulfill their mission and everything. So this is the reason for my optimism, that whenever will be in the world, the book fairs will leave. They will be transformed, I guess. Sometimes I was dreaming that maybe we will start to think about the new behaviors of people buying books, because it is changing with all this digital. It's a reality that people are starting to buy books in a bit different manner. Maybe going to surfing with the finding books, signing the titles, and after that coming back home, ordering them online. Maybe somebody is doing it before the fair, after that going with the books to meet the authors, to sign the books, and so on and so on. So there are changes, and there are natural changes in the world book industry, and in those buyers' experiences which people have now. They are new. So we should assume this. We should, think about this and understand what we are still proposing to the audience as an organizer. So the book fairs will continue changing together with the changing of the world. But here I cannot think about this too much optimistic from coming back to Ukraine, because of the situation in which we are now, because the situation in the Ukrainian book industry is really terribly hard. So we have great losses in the stocks of books, in people who left Ukraine and left their companies, publishing houses, to look for the most safe, better place to live, and so on, saving their lives. We have big losses with the printing houses. The 80% of Ukrainian printing facilities are in Kharkiv. And I am sure that this name tells you a lot now from all the news sites, and you know what is Kharkiv now. So, I mean, there are a lot of big, complicated problems in the industry, and of course it will influence the fair, how it will be, when it will be possible. First, when it will be possible, and then how we will do it, in which manner. But what can give us an optimism even in this point of view? That fact that even today, coming to the Svět knihy Praga, first day from the morning, I have heard maybe dozens of times that we will for sure meet in Kiev. We will for sure meet in Book Arsenal in Kiev next year, or maybe later or earlier, whenever it will be possible. So people give us the, the idea that please survive and do what you are doing. We will support you, we will come. We will be your guests, we will come with the authors, we will help you in the program, we will come with the publishers, come in with the books. We will probably support and find these ways of support, action. Your Ukrainian publishers doing more books, and even in this crisis period of time. So this community support and this great support of people doing the same jobs but in different countries, this gives me the optimism of thinking that the book fairs will survive. They will change, but they will survive, and they will still do what they need to do. They will fulfill their missions of making book people coming together to meet one another and to do whatever they need.
You give me a hard time.
Let's change next time.
No, I think I completely agree with you. One interesting aspect, I think, was that in many European countries, the book market were quite resilient, right? Yeah. So it was a bit, I mean, we all believe in our markets, but I think on the global scale, it was a little bit of a surprising moment to see people come back to books. Books are considered bien essentiel, we say in French, essential goods. Essential goods, right? So bookshops were closed for a short time, but then opened again. I mean, in Germany, in France, I guess also in Italy. For me, the idea of being considered working in a market for essential goods was very comforting, because I'm convinced, but I wasn't aware of the fact that many, many other people and politicians are convinced books are essential goods. So people went back maybe to bookshops. Bookshops were full and crowded. Nevertheless, of course, when you are riding on the train and you are the only one, which happens to me quite often, reading a book on the train, and all the others are with their smartphones, of course it makes me a little bit nervous. What I want to say is I think the secret is to believe in our core values, also freedom of speech, international exchange and connection, and that's what book fairs are for. And what we are doing in Frankfurt is also organizing exchange programs, international programs for literary translators, this year for international booksellers. I'm in charge of the Frankfurt Fellowship, which is an international publishers program. We've got the invitation program. So we are, as you said, Elena, the key word is inclusion. And that's why I think technology and digitization is great to give someone from Bangladesh the possibility to meet someone from Argentina. And there is also the guy from Paris in the Zoom event, plus Book Arsenal. It's amazing. That's great to be able to create this kind of formats to bring people together. So I'm also quite confident, and also something that helped me a lot in that time was to think of the people who went to book fairs in the 16th century, in the 17th, in the 18th, in the 19th, in the 20th, and in the 21st century. And every century was a nightmare. Every century was full of wars, pandemics. People killed each other all the time. You couldn't say what you thought, but book fairs have survived until now, so they will keep it going.
Perfect. I'm not moderating events very often, but I felt that I should moderate this topic because it's familiar to me, and now I knew how to do it. Invite 3 girls, and the hour is over. So our time is closely over. If there is some question, please. Okay. I thank you, ladies. It was wonderful. I feel like I'm a part of some very high society now. Yeah.
Something. I would like to add something that was established long before the pandemic, but has greatly increased its power and its importance during the pandemic. We have an informal association of directors of international book fairs. And this informal association was established some 25 years ago. So, you know, many different directors also for the same fair have turned over. And we have always been meeting once in Frankfurt, and every 2 years we used to have a 5 days meeting in a city, guests of one of the fairs. And during the pandemic, we have established to meet once a month, more or less, or once a month and a half. Not everybody can attend all the meetings, of course, because we are very busy people, but these regular meetings have been so important to help all of us understand better what was going on, learn from other directors that had been first in the calendar, to understand what they have experienced, to strengthen our connections. And I think that this is great, not only for us directors, but also for the result. I mean, from this constant relationship and talks and conversation, not only friendships have increased, that could be nice, but it's just among us, so not interesting for the readers, I mean, but I think that also the result of our talks have been very important for the growing of the fairs, of the fairs perspectives, and so also for their publics. So once again, I know that I am always too optimistic, but let me say that also this the growth of this relationship have created very good results. And I would like to underline that for the book fair, most of us have agreed, and those that couldn't agree, the reason was because they are depending on state ministries, and so there were some bureaucratic things. But all of us agreed to do something, to a statement in support of Ukrainian publishers. So we did a statement, and we decided to invite an author that I read in the program is one of your guests as well, Edgar Keret, the Israeli author, both for children's and adult. And we invited, we as the Association of Directors, invited him to Bologna to give a speech on peace. And that was so meaningful, I think. Most of the international book fair could sign it, but we know that also those who couldn't sign they were with us, actually. It was only bureaucracy that didn't allow them to sign. All the book fair directors were together, and that was so important. And when I'm asked, what can fair do? Actually, I feel that we can do, because we have a voice, and we can speak loud. Because all together we can speak loud and we can help, because war is really much worse than a COVID, you know. So now the challenge is much bigger.
Okay, I think this is wonderful end of our discussion. I thank you all for visiting us. I hope we'll continue outside of stage, and we thank you for your attention, and have a nice rest of the day. Thank you.